actually freed me immensely, and I'm grateful. It's an honor.
You can proceed, Your Excellency.
For that reason, Madam Speaker, I have keenly followed the contributions made on this floor For that reason, Madam Speaker, I have keenly followed the contributions made on this floor to the debate over my State of the Nation address, and I propose to deal with the matters arising therefrom in three parts. First, as a matter of courtesy, I will respond to the concerns raised by the Honorable Leader of Opposition, then respond to those raised by other members, and finally conclude by fielding supplementary questions for as long as that time permits. Madam Speaker, it should come as no surprise that the Leader of Opposition and I have different views of both the country and his party's performance in government over the past 6 years. For example, he praises his party's president for, quote, significantly setting the pace for our development, end of quote. But I fail to see how he arrives at the conclusion. For one of the reasons Malawians fired his party from running the affairs of this nation is because it significantly slowed the pace of our development. After all, Malawi is neither the Singapore nor the Europe that the DPP promised. It is therefore amusing that even though the Leader of Opposition was a cabinet minister 3 months ago and supported a budget presented here by his party, he did not at that time have the insight to include in that budget the risk allowances for teachers that he is now advocating for. As such, I feel safe in my conclusion that his clarity of vision is only useful for looking back at his own failures and of no help in helping us see a way forward. May I therefore ask him to leave the teachers' risk allowances to us, for he and his ilk have failed to deliver the same, and it is we who will look after our teachers as they deserve. Madam Speaker, I also note that the Honorable Leader of the Opposition led the pack in attacking my proposal to save billions of taxes by constructing official permanent residences in our constituencies. Joining him in this assault were the honorable members for Chakwera North, Zomba Antonia, and Koragora Northeast. I believe that their fallacious misrepresentation of the proposal was ably dealt with by the honorable member for Nshishi South. But allow me to say only two things more on this. The people of Malawi will pay over $2.7 billion in housing allowances to the members of this House during their term of office. Yet, not a single member has stood up to say that they would like to forfeit this allowance to go towards their constituents. From this double standard, I discern that the objections to the provision of an official house for MPs are not motivated by a desire to save money, but a desire to keep Malawians paying MPs housing allowances indefinitely. My proposal would cost the Malawian taxpayer nothing and save the taxpayer billions in the long term. So I'm amazed that there are members here who believe it would be better to keep costing the taxpayer billions and saving the taxpayer nothing. Secondly, I reject the suggestion that building houses for MPs means that we will not build houses for teachers, nurses, soldiers, and civil servants. The housing my administration is going to reverse. And the DPP should not even deny that the housing crisis among civil servants is their creation. For the leader of opposition himself admitted that after 11 years of DPP administration, quote, civil servants, including teachers, nurses, police and army officers, social welfare officers, and agriculture extension workers, end of quote, live in what he described as dilapidated houses. My administration is here to clean up that mess. It is evident, Madam Speaker, that reality has not yet sunk in for the leader of opposition, for his rhetoric is littered with fantasies. He alleges that the June 23rd polls, quote, divided the nation along tribal and regional lines, end of quote. The reality is that it is his party that attempted and failed to divide the country along those lines. But thankfully, the Malawian people did not allow it. 1 in 3 of every Malawian who voted for me was from a region other than my own. And so the honorable leader of opposition's aspersions do not stand up to the scrutiny of facts. In fact, I imagine that it is this disregard for facts that led him to claim, as many as 6 times in his address, that my administration has been in office for 3 months, when it has in fact been less than 75 days. In this regard, I must thank both the Minister of Forestry and Natural Resources from my party and the honorable member for Mulanje Southwest from his party for pointing out to the leader of opposition that I have been in office for, quote, 2 months, end of quote. Unfortunately, in so doing, they have exposed the DPP's error of expecting Malawians to trust the leader of opposition to lead when he cannot even be trusted to count. He would do well to borrow a leaf from the honorable member of Chakwera North, whose contribution was quite substantive, with the notable exception of his advocacy of the failed policy of filling our land with stadia. Notwithstanding, I applaud the member of Chakwera North for coming to the rescue of the leader of opposition by raising very pertinent issues related to public debt, taxation, forex ideology, and modalities of the Millennium Challenge account. I will, of course, not address these areas related to our approach to Malawi's fiscus because I do not want to preempt the articulation of those things in the Minister of Finance presentation of my budget to this House tomorrow. But I concur with his view that these are necessary to outline. The question from Chakwera North that I can address with speed has to do with my promise to reduce presidential powers. In a nutshell, there is one executive power, one administrative power, and one ceremonial power that I propose to dispense with without crippling the functionality of the presidency. The executive power due for review is the power to appoint the director of the Anti-Corruption Bureau. For it is in my view that Parliament should interview suitable candidates publicly and nominate 3 names to the President so that one of them can be appointed. Similarly, I hold that all candidates for public offices that are subject to confirmation by the Public Appointment Committee of Parliament be interviewed publicly. The administrative power due for review is the power to control the cash flow of Parliament. For it is my view that, as it is with the judiciary, once a budget is passed, Parliament's vote should be ring-fenced and put in accounts controlled by the legislature itself, subject to its own audits. The ceremonial power due for review is the power to preside over public universities as chancellor, which is a relic of a bygone era. In this new century, where our goal is to increase the number of public universities and establish them as bastions of free thought, academic administrators must be fully empowered to run our universities. Each of these changes is unprecedented, but needed nonetheless, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, let me return to the Honorable Leader of Opposition's queries. If I agree with him on anything, it is in his denunciation of regionalism. And I am pleased that he acknowledged that the seeds of our fight against tribalism were sown by Dr. Hastings Kamuzubanda and watered by Dr. Bakiri Muruzi. However, even here, in matters of historical fact, it seems necessary to furnish the Leader of Opposition with basic facts. For he wrongly referred to Kamuzu as father and founder of the Malawi Congress Party, which he was not. Still, it is to the leader.
Can I have order, honorable members? Order, please.
He was father and founder of the Malawi nation. The Malawi Congress Party was... Still, it is to the Leader of Opposition's credit that he did not engage in the futile exercise of giving his own party any credit for resisting the poison of regionalism, of which they are as guilty as sin. For even he knows that it is his party that went around the country telling Malawians that no president will ever come from the northern or central regions. But God.
Order, please. Order, honorable members. Can I have order, please? Let me have order, please.
Even when some people said
Order
over
on
my
left.
dead
Order,
body,
please.
but God is good.
Honorable members, the last time I'm asking for order.
God is good.
I don't want to send you out, please.
I said God is good. I also agree with him when he says that Malawians have high expectations of my administration, or that, quote, Malawians cannot wait to start eating 3 meals a day, to start buying cheap fertilizer at 4,495 kwacha per 50-kilogram bag, end of quote. What he seems to not understand, Madam Speaker, is that Malawians are now waiting for these things because they know that these things are on the way. He seems not to understand that the fact that Malawians are waiting for these good things means that their confidence in government is already being restored. For we all know that Malawians had stopped waiting for anything good to come out of DPP a long time ago. Even he himself seems eager to see these good things from my administration that he never witnessed from that of his party. And a case in point is his anxiety to see a timeline for my promises, which is strange, considering that he himself goes on to repeat the timelines I mentioned in relation to birth rates and death rates. Similarly, Madam Speaker, he alleges that my SONA was empty on strategies for increasing the enrollment capacity of literacy classes. Never mind the various capacity building programs that I had outlined. But still, Madam Speaker, worse than his penchant for selective reading is his total misreading of my comments about the culture of allowances in the civil service, as well as his misrepresentation of the status of the DPP electoral commissioners. I will not respond to the allegation that I have directed that civil servants' allowances be scrapped, since the leader of the House already disposed of this lie with great industry. As for the status of the 2 DPP-nominated commissioners of MEC, I would advise the leader of opposition to ask the state commissioners on what I say to them and the whole Electoral Commission when they reported their activities to me August 20th. He will find that his perspective is off track. However, Madam Speaker, allow me to put the leader of opposition at ease about two things. About two things he clearly misunderstood from my sonar. The first is about expatriates, contrary to his insinuation that my position...
Zomba Chingari, can I have order, please? Next time you're going to go out if you continue.
Contrary, Madam Speaker, to his insinuation that my position was a sweeping statement against foreign experts working here, I clearly said that we should welcome expertise from all over the world, but guard against their absorption of jobs that can be done by Malawians, which is in fact already against the law. The second and last is his insinuation that the principal secretaries I have moved around the civil service have been moved around because, quote, they are perceived to be DPP sympathizers, end of quote. I think the leader of opposition should tell us who it is, who it is that perceives these principal secretaries as being DPP sympathizers. I say this because, as far as I know, all principal secretaries are by law required to be nonpartisan in the conduct of their work. So if he perceives the 13 principal secretaries he mentioned as being partisan, he should tell us how he knows that these civil servants are sympathizers of his party. I must hasten, Madam Speaker, to add that he must also take off his presence when assessing the arrests effected by the police against suspected lawbreakers. As far as I know, no official of the DPP has been arrested, unless we all are speaking of arresting development. But if those public servants who have been arrested are DPP members, let the leader of opposition tell us plainly. In any event, neither I nor the Vice President have any involvement in the decisions made by law enforcement agencies about whom to arrest, for they are now enjoying the independence from political interference they were denied by DPP administration. An administration which sent police officers to bomb and tear gas MCP offices, including the MCP headquarters, while the American ambassador was paying me a courtesy call. That kind of political witch hunting is over, and we will not miss it. To demonstrate my resolve to neither shield nor persecute anyone, the honorable member from Zimba North stood on this floor on the afternoon of Monday and alleged that there are members of my cabinet receiving bribes from Asians to obstruct the course of justice, and that he even knows where this money is kept. I challenge him to ride in my convoy after this meeting and take us to the place where the money is, so that the police can arrest such. Or else, all Malawians will be left with no choice but to conclude that this is nothing more than slander. Madam Speaker, since I expect that the honorable member from Zimba North will not do so, I will not dwell too much on the questions he raised, except to assure him on one point, enlighten him on 2 points, and agree with him on 3. He asked if I am willing to allow the Malawian people judge my performance in the future. And here I can assure him that I am duty-bound to do so. The 2 insights I feel compelled to offer him are related to access to information and the externalization of gold. As most members here know, access to information is not a bill coming to this House, as the honorable member from Zimba North supposes, but it was already passed into law December 14th, 2016, which is why the focus of my administration is to operationalizing it. As for his curiosity about gold, it should be of interest to him to know that a 2019 analysis by Reuters determined that in 2016, $15.1 billion worth of gold was imported from Africa by the United Arab Emirates alone, without being recorded in the exports of African states. Accordingly, the Observatory of Economic Complexity established that $88 million worth of this gold came from Malawi. Finally, I agree with his assessment that Malawi is in desperate need of banking reform, land reform, and industrial reforms, and my administration is fully committed to the facilitation of the same. Madam Speaker, the subject of industrial reforms brings me naturally to the legitimate concern raised by the leader of UDF in the House regarding the environment, which also relates to issues of climate change, as raised by the honorable member of Chakwera North. I wish to agree fully, without reservation, with the statement made by the leader of UDF in the House, saying that, quote, "Without healthy ecologies, we cannot achieve healthy economies," end of quote. Just this week, I met with the eminent environmentalist, Professor Sosten Jota, to weigh in on my ambitious agenda to address climate change issues in a way that will galvanize the whole country to treat this as the existential threat that it is. My agenda, developed in consultation with the Minister of Forestry and Natural Resources, seeks to address challenges we face as a nation in the areas of environmental management, forestry management, water management, and climate change management. Because of the seriousness I attach to this cause, I left the subject out of the SONA so that I could address the whole nation on these issues with singular focus later this month. This is because I do not view this area as the responsibility of government alone, but a matter of survival for our people and for all of us. I therefore look forward to unveiling this program soon. Madam Speaker, let me stop here for now in order to field as many of the members' questions as your standing orders and time will allow. But I thank you most kindly for your attention.
Thank you, Your Excellency.